So like I said, I continue to smile, but despite that we're having a long day already and still there's a lot of things in us, but this is such an exciting topic that I will just continue on being happy. And another reason that I'm really happy about is that I see more and more that this project that we're thinking of launching very shortly in the World Intellectual Property Organization is really fitting and checking all the boxes that are actually needed within the video community. Like I said, I work in the World Intellectual Property Organization, and I could go on with this very typical introduction. We're a UN family organization based in Geneva, 193 member states, created that in that year, so many treaties administered. But instead, let me just summarize. Our role is, at the end of the day, to help everyone, everywhere, to benefit from the IP ecosystem. That includes game developers here in Serbia, that includes game developers across our region all over the world, of course. To go through all the activities of the World Intellectual Property Organization, I would have to spend the next 2 days explaining each one of our projects. Instead, allow me just to focus on 2 of them, one which is upcoming, and a few things that you might be actually useful for you to know about video games and what we have already done when it comes to that area. So first of all, the video you've seen at the very beginning, it's something that we have been promoting very much also on the WIPO social media. The Mastering the Game publication, which the co-author is somewhere here in the room as well. And this is a book of 400 pages covering all legal issues, not only intellectual property, but all legal and business issues when it comes to video games. There's the PlayStation infographic. You can have a look at our webpage, and that runs you through the history of PlayStation and different points of that history where intellectual property came into play. There's the product IP analysis, Cyberpunk 2077. It's an article and presentation which was done, by the way, by a team led by Gaetano, and that's also available from our web pages. And apart from that, we have these general WIPO distance learning courses where you can get just the very basic information about what intellectual property is. There's a new upcoming publication that is being prepared by IP for Business Division. And there's the WIPO IP diagnostic tool, which is it's an online tool that you can access free of charge. And within 10-15 minutes, you can have a quick IP audit done about where in your company you have intellectual property. And of course, there's a whole series of business publications, including for startups. And I'm very happy to see that very shortly we might have something on that in Serbia as well in the local language. But the main objective of my presentation is to speak about this upcoming new project, which we are naming Level Up Your IP, a video game developer's quest. This is a work in progress, so we're still designing all the details. But the main message is that we, of course, want to provide here is that IP is at the heart of the video game industry, and you need to level up your IP to succeed in this industry, of course. Why are we doing it? We want to help SME video game developers grow by using, in an effective manner, intellectual property. We want to create networking opportunities between big and small companies, between different regions. In this case, we're going to be specifically doing it for Central European and Baltic states, Asia and the Pacific, as well as the Latin America. Sometimes we've heard that these are the regions which don't have so many connections, so we still further want to support that. And we want to create a space for among IP legal and business experts on video games. The end result, that's the dream come true. What we would love to see is that video game developers are succeeding and in that way also further contributing to economic growth of the country. Who are we targeting? The main beneficiary are the owners of small and medium-sized studios, including indie, and new game creators, developers. So people who are already a bit in the industry, they know how it works, and they're thinking of developing their own game or are already developing them. The additional target group, of course, in order for the whole project to be successful, to have those people who will be able to share the good experience, Of course, additionally, we want to target representatives of the large studios, publishers, consoles, platforms, video game legal experts, in-house lawyers, and gamers as well, of course, always. How we want to do it? Right, no ties. I started off originally with no suits, but then some game developer told me that he loves wearing his suits, so we just crossed that out and we're going with no ties. So we want to keep it as informal as possible, of course. We're also taking a very different approach on building the content of the project because we're developing it around the game developer. It had a 360 way, so it's not us in WIPO sitting down and thinking, okay, this is going to be the best thing for the game developer to understand about IP. We're speaking with the game developers, we're trying to understand their needs, and around that, we're designing the whole project. And that also means we're very aware of how much time the game developer has. They have to take care of the business, administration, taxes, hiring people, and then designing their services and products. So we really in this project want to keep everything short, selected, and useful, straight to the point, straight to that gist in a way of IP for that small and medium-sized game developer. We also want to use a mix of business and legal angles. So it's not going to be paragraph 56 of article from 1974 says this and that copyright is this and that. We want to be actually really just practical in what we say. And we are thinking of having these 5 levels of content, which will follow the game development stages. So stage 1, you're thinking of developing the game. Stage 2, you start developing the game, and so on. I'll come back to that in a second. And each of these levels will have that 3-step approach. So first, we're going to have the podcasts, which will be really short, 15 to 30-minute interviews with successful gaming companies, both big and small, so that there's a different kind of perspectives on how they are utilizing and using intellectual property. Then we also, as a second step, we want to have the IP mentoring clinics. So here, those will be 45 minutes, one-on-one meetings of IP experts with specific game companies and providing them advice on how they can use intellectual property. We know that I know it's not the case in Serbia, but I know there are some countries which are sometimes lacking the legal expertise on how to treat intellectual property within video games. So we want to provide that to the video game developers. And then, of course, we want to build that informal online networking space in a way so that everybody can exchange their views to kind of support further getting those contacts across these different regions that we are targeting. Also, again, I've read Mastering the Game, I think 3 or 4 times, and I think each in-house legal counsel did the same, and almost all the lawyers in the entertainment industry did it as well. But we can understand that SME game developers will not go through 400 pages of legal advice on how to treat intellectual property. So the idea here also with this project is that we want to develop these 5 pages, just 5 pages of checklists of what we will call level power-ups. So if you're at that stage of game development, so you're thinking of developing a game, here's this 1 page, at least remember these things. You're developing the game, you're thinking of getting the music, the graphics, the software. Here's the 2nd page, just go through that checklist, that basic stuff. So we hope at least that will be something that the game developers might actually look at, which we kind of understand, again, underlining the timing constraints they have. And yes, I know that the game developers are usually perhaps more on different other social media platforms like Discord or Twitch, of course, but because we also want to keep it a business as well, and because it's true that WIPO already has quite a bigger presence on LinkedIn, so we want to build the whole network on LinkedIn. Now, when it comes to the partnerships, we're partnering with associations, federations, the largest publishers, large studios, console developers, successful indie studios, governs ministries and IP offices. So all of the relevant stakeholders will be part of this project, and we are already in touch with the biggest companies and many, of course, IP offices as well. And I can't disclose yet, but I can promise that one of the most successful companies are included in this project already, and the associations and federations as well. Now, when it comes to the content, so, level up your intellectual property. That's the general idea. And we want to do that through those 5 levels with a level 0. The level 0 is the quest and route, what we call it. Level 1, preparing for the journey, adventure time, the launch as the final destination, company of players, new frontiers. Those who are a bit into gaming, there's some kind of geek culture included in this. Podcast 0, the quest and the loot. Here we want to introduce the project and the players and the people who are involved in developing the ones who will be helping out with the clinics, with the podcasts. Introduction to the basic concepts, just like the very, very basic. This is copyright, this is patents, these are trademarks, just the basic stuff. And game stories from the project team, because in the end, what's also cool about it, it's that it's going to be by gamers for gamers at the end of the day. So it's also people that are not only passionate about intellectual property, but are super passionate about video games themselves. Level 1, so that's the preparing for the journey. So here we have the idea that we are going to think about the IP in the concept phase. So do you get your IP from a different other media, like a book or a TV show or a movie, or do you create your own IP, your own characters, your own world? And what will be the consequences down the road when you make that final first kind of decision? And we're already very happy that we have a confirmed really excellent company that will be also interviewing in this part. Adventure time, so IP and all these in the development phase, so copyright, trade secrets, patents, designs, and what to trademark. Also about the relevant license for an engine, music licensing, and what Moika also spoke about really very well, architecture and real life. Level 3, the launch as the final destination, and here we want to speak about IP and marketing, brands across the world. So again, there was a question already about it. Where do you trademark, and in order to make it as cost effective in a way as possible? IP monitoring and enforcement globally. Are there any tools that are available to do that? Then company of players. So here it's about you're already successful. Someone wants to either invest in you or do an audit. And what are the things that a video game company needs to remember at that point? IP issues during acquisitions and investment. New frontiers is the final level. So here it's maybe not like a development phase of the game, but we want to cover those. It's not new stuff. And sorry, Katana, it's the second time I'm using metaverse. I actually now realize it's there in the presentation. But it's to discuss at least those issues which are very big buzzwords and are very much being in development right now as well. So NFTs, virtual property, esports, of course, metaverse, VR, AR. We are also aiming at a mid-season event and an end event. So the mid-season event will be focusing on IP and marketing for women in gaming. And here it's more going to be kind of preparing for a potential season 2, which will be dedicated actually more to gamers potentially. The end of the season event is Come Sit, Tell Us Your IP Story. That's a working title, but the idea here is that we want to give the voice to the video game company developers themselves, that today are the ones who will tell us their story, and perhaps we're thinking of doing it in form of a pitch and to see if there's some kind of way that WIPO can support those companies in their further on journey. The timeline is that we want to launch at end of November, potentially just in the very beginning of December. And just to explain to you how it will look like more visually, so we will be following a 2-week cycle for each level of that content I mentioned. Week 1, we will launch the podcast, so that will be that interview, the 15-30-minute interview put on Spotify, on WIPO webpage, and all the other kind of places. You can download it. The video game developer can download it and listen to it at any point of time they would like. Then we open up the signups for the IP clinic registration. So the companies will be able to register for the clinics. Then week 2, in the very beginning, we shoot out that level power up. So that just one page of a checklist of things, at least remember those intellectual property issues at that stage of game development. The IP clinics will continue. Will take place. So those will be those 45-minute one-on-one advices by world-class IP experts, providing one-on-one advices to game companies, including as well, of course, in Serbia, in our region of Central European Baltic states. And then there will be this informal networking event. So those who will not be able to make it for the clinics, we will have a chance to interact with the experts, interact with the bigger companies potentially as well. So this is something that we will end. And then we go to level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5. Now that's a thank you already. But before I do say that thank you, just to say that, at the end of the day, we do realize in the World Intellectual Property Organization that video game developers have so many things to do on a daily basis. They don't have time to spend hours and hours learning how intellectual property works, how legal issues work. So, of course, we are very aware of their time. So, first of all, one of the major tasks for us is that they know that they need to know at least the basics of intellectual property to get them in the room. Second of all, we need to speak to them in such a language that it's not a boring language, that we do not go through legal provisions, articles, and things like that. So we needed to make it interesting, straight to the point, really very short, so that at the end of the day, this project, a game developer will say, I know how to strategically use my IP, in order to succeed. My business grew thanks to my knowledge of how to use this intellectual property. I found new business partners potentially, because like I said, we want to partner with the big and small companies as well within this project frame. I met many great people from the industry. That's easy to do because it's full of really amazing, really creative people across the whole world, including very much in our region. And I have a new useful IP-focused network across different countries and regions. So with that in mind, Hvala vam, thank you very much.